editor in Bandlab. Just before we get started, I just want to remind everybody that the Bandlab website you want is the one that starts with edu. There are two Bandlab websites. You don't want the normal one, you want the educational one that starts edu. So if you Google Bandlab, make sure you hit the one that says edu. Right, once you're on there, let's just open a new project so that I can show you what you're doing. So we're going to need an instrument today. These are not real instruments, of course. You don't need a trumpet, a drum or a piano. Great if you've got those, but you can, in fact, I want you to just use the virtual instruments, and those are called MIDI instruments. MIDI is the way that computers talk about music, right? It's the sort of computer language for music. So if I say MIDI, I'm just meaning like pretend instrument. So I'm going to click on instruments. First thing it gives me is a piano, which is great. You can change that instrument out later, but if you start off as a piano, and you can see, you can click on these keys and it'll make the notes of the piano. The other thing is they've got these letters on, Z, X, C, V, B. Now we know that there are not notes that are called Z and X or V. So these refer to the keys on your typing keyboard, not your music keyboard, just your keyboard that you type emails and stuff with. So if I press the Z key on my keyboard, I get a note. So, and obviously all those letters are next to each other on the keyboard, so it's quite useful. If you want it to be higher, right, so this is too low, you can press octave and it'll go up to the next octave. Now I've got a higher note there. All right, I'm going to put it back to normal. So you can just play music in by pressing record and playing in the music you want to play. It'll count you in and then you can play it on your keyboard. Let's try that. So I'm going to need that note, that note, that note, and that note today. All right, so you might have recognised Smoke on the Water. That song is called, it's by Deep Purple. So I played that in using the keys of my typing keyboard and it sounded like this, which is fine, all right. But there is another way of doing it if you get a bit mixed up doing it this way, and that's what I want you to do today, the MIDI editor. So I'm going to close this little screen. I'm going to delete that music that I just made. And I'm going to open the MIDI editor. This is down here. Okay, now what have we got? We've got a keyboard we can click on, and then we've got this sort of grid over here. And in this grid, you can draw in the notes that you want to hear from your keyboard, right? So if I want to hear an E, what I can do is, just let me put that to the beginning, I can pick up this pencil and I can draw a note in here. So if I just rest my pencil here, if you put it too far over, you won't get the pencil. So just go over to, I've got it in line with this E, and I'm going to click, and I've got a note. All right, and the other thing I can do is if I go back to this arrow, I can make that note longer or shorter. And if I'd accidentally aimed it wrong and it wasn't on the E, or decided I want it on a different note, I can move it up and down as well. It's really useful, right? But it is on the right note. So I've put my note in. I'm going to put another note in. So I'm going to put in a G this time, which is this note. If you're like, oh, well, I don't know which notes they are, well, your C's are marked on, and we know that music goes A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, don't we? Right, so this is C, D, E, the note we've chosen, F, G, A, B, C, all right? It's a shame it doesn't have all the notes written on, but there you go, at least it's got the C's. So the next note I know that I want is a G, so I'm going to draw in a G here. Notice it's right on this line, because that's where I need it to be. Okay, the next note after that, I want an A. Now, pretty soon I'm going to run out of room here to write more notes in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this, because these two things are the same. This is like a close-up of this pinky red thing here. So I want to make this region, that's what they call it, I want to make it longer so I can fit more notes in. So this little handle at the bottom sort of looks like a little door with an arrow in it. I'm going to get hold of that and I'm going to drag that out and make it a bit, well, quite a lot longer, right? In fact, let's just make it to there. Notice how as I move this, that grey thing at the bottom moves because it's the same thing. Okay, so I've got three notes. Da, da, da. I want another E now. And I want it here. And I'll explain how you know where to put them later. Now I need something called a B flat. Okay, so we've got C here. So the note before C, think of your alphabet. Before C in the alphabet, you've got B. And before B, you've got A. But in between A and B, you've got this black note here, and it's called B flat, because it's down half a step from B, but not all the way down to A. You can rewind this video and play that again if I went too fast. So I want a B flat, which is the start region here. And then I want an A at the end. Right. And remember, if I want to get rid of the pencil and I want to go back to my arrow, I just click over here. I'll explain what the V is another day. It's not particularly exciting. Right, let's have a listen to what my music sounds like. So make sure my play marker is at the beginning, and I press play. Okay, so it sounds pretty good, but it's not quite right at the end, is it? This note needs to be in a bit quicker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten this note, and I take the last note and I move it up. So I'm not putting it halfway, it'll click to the grid. See that? It won't go halfway in between, which is dead helpful. Right, put my marker back. Let's see what that sounds like. Now it sounds like it. However, these notes are all a bit too long, aren't they? So what I can do, I can shorten them one at a time, like this. Or, if I know there's loads of them that I want shortening, I click away from them all, so I've got nothing selected, and I draw a box like this to select. That's selecting all the notes that I want. I don't want those last two. I just want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then if I shorten one, look at that, it shortens all the others as well. So it's really helpful, save you a bit of time. Let's have a listen, click away, and have a listen to what that sounds like. It's just that one note there that needs to be longer, isn't it? One more time from the beginning. Right. Remember, say you had a note that was, let me make one of the notes wrong. So that note's wrong now. Right, you can just move it to the note you want. All right. So I am going to set an assignment using this, but that is how you use the very basic way of using the MIDI note editor. Remember, MIDI means like sort of pretend. It's there's more to it than that, but if you just think of it that way now, pretend instruments are called MIDI instruments. The other thing I can do, by the way, is swap out. So I don't want a piano sound, I want a different sound. So I close the MIDI editor and I press instrument. I've still got this selected, and I don't want piano, I want a different instrument. I can go into this menu and pick what I want. I've decided I want a bass, so I'm going to go to bass at the top, and then even within bass you've got all of these different kinds of bass. I'm going to try let's try pumped up bass, see what that sounds like. I haven't listened to this yet. So you might like that, or you might want it on a guitar, so you go guitar and you go let's have a look. Overdriven power chord sounds good. Let's try that. So it sounds like this. Okay, not bad. So you can change it for whatever you want, and then when you're done, oops, just get rid of that. You can press save, and you can put it in your library, and you can change the name of it and all the rest of it. And of course, you can add other things to this. Add track is your button that you need all the time. That's what brings this menu up. So you can browse loops, you can put a drum machine part on it, you can even record your voice over it if you've got a microphone, and you can just click away to get rid of that thing. So that's how you bring it up, add track, and you can add other tracks. And that is how you use the MIDI editor.